In the serene darkness of space, everything changed on a quiet Tuesday morning. Earth's most advanced detection systems lit up like Christmas trees as thousands of alien vessels materialized just beyond Mars' orbit. The sight was both beautiful and terrifying. A vast armada of ships that gleamed like polished silver under the distant sunlight. High Admiral Daeho Kim had always known this day would come. He stood straight-backed in the heart of the United Earth Defense Command Center, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of the massive holographic display. Around him, dozens of officers worked at their stations with practiced efficiency, their fingers flying over control panels as they assessed the incoming threat. The command center was a marvel of human engineering, built deep within the Rocky Mountains. Its walls were lined with advanced monitoring systems, and the central hologram showed real-time positions of both Earth's defensive fleet and the approaching alien armada. The room hummed with tension, but there was no panic. They had trained for this moment for decades. Colonel Jae-yun Park, Kim's trusted second-in-command, stood at her station with the same calm she showed during their countless simulation drills. Her dark eyes narrowed as she studied the streams of data flowing across her screens. 20 years of military service had prepared her for this moment, though she never truly believed it would come during her lifetime. "Sir," she called out, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "The alien vessels have entered standard communication range. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." Admiral Kim nodded, his lined face revealing nothing of his inner thoughts. "Put it through to the main display, Colonel." The message that appeared was crystal clear, translated automatically by Earth's advanced AI systems. It came in both audio and text, delivered in a tone that suggested its senders were used to being obeyed without question. "To the primitive species of Sol 3, designated Earth, we are the Galactic Council, the supreme authority of civilized space. Your planet has been selected for integration into our empire. Surrender immediately and submit to our authority. Resistance will result in your extinction. You have 1 Earth hour to comply." The message repeated itself in several languages, but the meaning remained the same: submit or die. Around the command center, officers exchanged glances, but maintained their professional composure. This was the moment they had prepared for through countless drills and simulations. In orbit, Earth's defense fleet, a combination of conventional ships and vessels powered by reverse-engineered technology, moved into predetermined positions. Ground-based defense systems quietly powered up, and hidden installations across the planet awakened from their dormant state. Supreme Counselor Hae-jin Lee, the alien leader, waited in his flagship with the smug confidence of one who had overseen the submission of countless civilizations. The Galactic Council had perfected this approach over millennia. Show overwhelming force, demand surrender, and watch as yet another species bowed to their might. Their intelligence suggested that humans were a fractious, divided species that would crumble at the first sign of superior technology. Admiral Kim studied the tactical display, noting the alien fleet's formation. Years of analyzing recovered alien technology and intercepted communications had taught humanity more than the Council realized. He exchanged a meaningful look with Colonel Park, who gave him a slight nod. "Open a channel to the Galactic Council flagship," Kim ordered, his voice firm and clear. The communication system hummed to life. Kim stood tall, his shoulders straight, as he prepared to deliver humanity's response. The entire command center fell silent, all eyes on their admiral. "This is High Admiral Daeho Kim of the United Earth Defense Force," he began, his words measured and deliberate. "We have received your message and considered your terms." He paused, allowing his words to sink in. "We respectfully decline your offer. Earth is not interested in surrender. We suggest diplomatic discussions as equals." The silence that followed was deafening. In the Council flagship, Hae-jin Lee's composed demeanor cracked for the first time in centuries. No species had ever refused their ultimatum, not once in over 1,000 years of expansion. Colonel Park's console lit up with incoming data. "Sir, they're scanning our defenses, and they're detecting our hidden installations. Their energy signatures suggest confusion and increased activity." Admiral Kim allowed himself a small smile. The Council had expected to find a primitive world, easy to intimidate and conquer. Instead, they found a united humanity, armed with hybrid technology, and prepared for this very moment. The next few hours would change the course of galactic history, and humanity had no intention of playing the role of conquered subjects. As tensions mounted in space, Earth's population remained largely unaware of the confrontation happening above their heads. In cities across the globe, people went about their daily lives, protected by the silence maintained through decades of preparation. The world's governments had agreed long ago that when first contact came, they would face it united and prepared, rather than in chaos and panic. The ball was now in the Council's court, and humanity waited to see how they would react to their first taste of human defiance. The next move would determine whether this would end in peaceful dialogue or become humanity's first interstellar war. The Grand Council chambers aboard the massive flagship echoed with voices filled with disbelief and confusion. The usual calm and orderly proceedings had dissolved into chaos as the impossible became reality. A species had refused to surrender. Supreme Counselor He Jin Lee paced the polished floor, his ornate robes swishing with each turn. The chamber's curved walls displayed real-time data from Earth, and the information streaming across these screens only added to his growing anxiety. His carefully maintained composure, developed over centuries of successful conquests, was beginning to crack. Young Mei Kang sat at her station, her fingers flying across multiple holographic interfaces as she dug deeper into the Council's historical archives. As the Supreme Counselor's chief assistant, she had access to records dating back thousands of years, documenting every encounter, every conquest, and every submission. What she found only confirmed their unprecedented situation. "Supreme Counselor," she called out, her voice cutting through the chamber's chaos. "I've completed the historical analysis. In our entire recorded history, spanning 127 civilizations, none have ever lasted more than 6 hours before surrendering. Most capitulated within the first hour." She paused, double-checking her data. Humans are different. They're not following any established pattern of behavior. The chamber fell silent as her words sank in. Council member Taiwan Choi, known for his tactical expertise, stepped forward from the gathered group. His face showed the same confusion that marked everyone else's. "This is unprecedented," he stated, his voice echoing in the quiet chamber. "Perhaps we should review our intelligence reports again. There must be something we missed. No species has ever refused our ultimatum." The surveillance data continued to stream across the chamber walls, painting an increasingly concerning picture. Hidden bases beneath Earth's oceans, concealed installations on their moon, and a network of defensive satellites that had somehow escaped their initial scans. But most troubling were the historical records showing centuries of careful preparation. "Look at this," Young Mei called out, projecting a timeline onto the main display. "They've been preparing since their first radio transmissions. Every piece of technology we thought was for civilian use has military applications. Their entertainment media, what they call science fiction, has been preparing their population psychologically for alien contact for generations." The chamber erupted in heated debate once again. Council members argued about how to proceed, their voices mixing into a cacophony of concern and confusion. Some advocated for immediate military action, while others called for caution and further analysis. He Jin Lee watched the chaos unfold, his mind racing. In all his years as Supreme Counselor, he had never faced such a situation. The Council's strategy had always been simple and effective. Overwhelm with superior numbers, demand surrender, and integrate the new species into their empire. It had worked flawlessly for millennia. "Show me their military response again," he commanded, and the displays shifted to show Earth's defense fleet taking position. The formation was unlike anything they had seen before. a perfect blend of conventional tactics and innovations that seemed to anticipate the Council's standard attack patterns. Young Mei brought up another disturbing piece of data. "Sir, we've detected energy signatures similar to our own technology in their ships, but they're using it in ways we never considered. They've somehow taken our basic principles and improved upon them." Taiwan Choi moved closer to the displays, his expert eyes analyzing the human fleet's positioning. "Their strategy, it's like they've been studying us. But that's impossible. We've never encountered them before." A junior analyst rushed into the chamber, clutching a datapad. "Supreme Counselor, we found something in their historical records. They've had crashed scout ships we thought were lost to navigation errors centuries ago. They'd been studying our technology for generations." The revelation sent another wave of unease through the chamber. Their advantage of superior technology, while still significant, was not as absolute as they had assumed. The humans had been quietly preparing, learning, and adapting while the Council remained unaware. He Jinli raised his hand for silence, and the chamber gradually quieted. "We need to understand what we're dealing with," he declared. "Young Mei, begin a deep analysis of their historical records. Taiwan, reassess our tactical approach. We cannot proceed with our standard protocols, not with this species." As the Council members dispersed to their tasks, He Jinli remained standing before the displays, watching the human fleet's movements. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he had never experienced before: uncertainty about the outcome of a conquest. In the following hours, more reports flooded in, each more concerning than the last. The humans had not only prepared their defenses, but had united their entire planet in secrecy. Their governments, despite their apparent divisions, had worked together for decades to prepare for this moment. Their technology, while less advanced in some areas, showed innovations that the Council's scientists found both brilliant and disturbing. As Young Mei continued her analysis, she couldn't help but wonder if the Council had finally met its match. The humans weren't just another species to be conquered, they were something entirely new. And for the first time in the Council's history, the outcome of their encounter was far from certain. The emergency council session began with an unusual sight. Intelligence Officer Sun Woo Park standing at the center of the chamber, his normally pristine uniform showing signs of 3 sleepless nights. The data he carried had kept him awake, analyzing and reanalyzing, hoping he had made a mistake. He hadn't. "Honorable Council members," he began, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. "What I'm about to share will change everything we thought we knew about the humans." The room's atmospheric processors hummed quietly as he loaded his findings onto the main display. The first image showed a crashed scout ship, one of many the Council had written off as lost to space accidents over the centuries. But this image was different. It showed the ship partially disassembled, surrounded by human scientists in primitive protective gear. The timestamp read 1947. "This is where it began," Sun Woo continued, advancing through a series of images spanning decades. "The humans didn't just find our ships, they studied them. They learned from them. And most importantly, they kept it secret from their own people." The council chamber fell silent as more images appeared. Human laboratories where alien technology was carefully taken apart, studied, and rebuilt. Documents showing test results, failed experiments, and finally, successes. Each image told part of a story that none of them had expected. "Their adaptability is unprecedented," Sun Woo explained, highlighting specific examples. "They've combined our technology with their own innovations in ways we never considered. Take their shield systems, for example. They took our basic particle barrier technology and merged it with their understanding of electromagnetic fields. The result is more efficient than our own designs." A senior council member leaned forward. "Impossible. They couldn't have improved on our technology. We've been developing these systems for millennia." Sun Woo pulled up another display. "That's exactly why they could improve it. They weren't bound by our traditional thinking. They approached everything as a puzzle to be solved, not as established science. Look at their power systems. The display showed human reactor designs that merged Council technology with Earth-based innovations. Where Council ships used standard antimatter reactors, humans had developed hybrid systems that combined antimatter with something they called cold fusion. They saw problems we didn't even know existed. Sun Wu continued. Their shorter lifespans actually worked in their favor. Each new generation approached the technology with fresh eyes, without preconceptions. Young Ni Kang, who had been quietly analyzing the data, spoke up. The most remarkable thing isn't just their technical achievements. It's how they kept this secret. Their entertainment media openly discussed alien life and advanced technology, but they disguised their real progress as fiction. They hid the truth in plain sight. The chamber's displays filled with examples of human science fiction, stories that, in retrospect, were clearly based on their actual technological developments. Movies showing spacecraft with capabilities suspiciously similar to their real hidden fleet. Books describing weapons systems that they had actually built. But why? He Jin Li asked, breaking his long silence. Why maintain such secrecy, even from their own people? Sun Wu's answer was simple yet profound. Because they were waiting for us. They knew someone would come eventually. Every piece of technology they developed, every system they built, was created with one purpose: to be ready when they met a spacefaring civilization. The implications disturbed many council members. Humans hadn't just prepared technically, they had prepared psychologically. Their entire civilization had been subtly shaped to handle first contact, not with fear or submission, but with readiness. There's more, Sun Wu added, his voice growing more serious. We've detected energy signatures we can't explain. They're not just using our technology. They're developing entirely new applications. Some of their ships show power readings that shouldn't be possible with their level of advancement. The council chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. The humans weren't just refusing to surrender. They had technologies that the council's scientists couldn't fully understand. They had taken council technology and evolved it in new directions. What are you suggesting? He Jin Li asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. I'm suggesting, Sun Wu replied carefully, that we may have severely underestimated them. They're not primitive. They're not even technically inferior in some areas. They're different, and that makes them dangerous. The revelation settled over the chamber like a heavy cloud. The council's standard approach to conquest had always relied on technological superiority. But the humans had eliminated that advantage through decades of careful preparation and innovation. As the council members debated their next move, Sun Wu added one final observation. There's something else you should know. Every piece of technology they've developed has both civilian and military applications. They've built their entire civilization to transform from peaceful to war-ready in moments. We're not facing a primitive species. We're facing one that has spent generations preparing for this exact moment. The silence that followed was deafening. The council had never encountered a species that had so thoroughly prepared for their arrival. The humans hadn't just survived first contact. They had been quietly shaping themselves to face it on equal terms. Space lit up like a supernova as the council fleet made its first aggressive move. Fleet Commander Du Hyun Cho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Celestial Dawn, watching with practiced confidence as his ships moved into attack formation. With over 10,000 vessels against Earth's modest defense fleet, he expected the battle to be brief and decisive. All ships in position, his tactical officer reported. Enemy fleet remains in defensive formation around their planet. Do Hyun allowed himself a small smile. The humans had refused to surrender. But surely they would break once they witnessed the true might of the Council's armée. Begin the attack pattern. Standard Conquest Formation Delta. The Council ships moved with precision, their golden hulls gleaming in the sunlight as they advanced toward Earth. Their formation was perfect, rehearsed countless times in previous conquests. Thousands of ships moving as one, ready to demonstrate why the Council had remained undefeated for millennia. On Earth, Admiral Dae-ho Kim watched the approaching fleet with calm determination. The command center hummed with activity as officers coordinated their response. Colonel Jae-yun Park stood at her station, her hands moving across the quantum control interface that linked Earth's defensive grid. "Admiral," Jae-yun called out, "quantum satellites are tracking their movement patterns. The AI is detecting standard Council attack formations, matching exactly with the data we recovered from their crashed ships." Kim nodded. "They're predictable. That's their weakness. Initiate Defense Plan Aurora." The human response began with something the Council fleet didn't expect: silence. Their initial volley of energy weapons passed through empty space as the Earth ships seemed to vanish. "Impossible," Do-hyun's tactical officer shouted. "Their ships just disappeared from our sensors." Before Do-hyun could respond, chaos erupted across his fleet. Human vessels reappeared inside their formation, their hybrid weapons systems unleashing attacks that the Council's shields had never been designed to stop. Quantum-linked missiles phased through standard energy barriers. Electromagnetic pulses merged with alien technology, created weapon effects that shouldn't have been possible. Multiple ships reporting critical system failures. His command staff reported, their voices rising with panic. "Their weapons, they're using our own technology against us, but differently." Jae-yun's quantum defense grid proved its worth as it predicted and countered the Council's every move. The satellites she controlled had been specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in Council technology that the aliens didn't even know existed. "Enemy fleet attempting to regroup," she reported to Admiral Kim. "Their formation is breaking apart." The space around Earth had become a battlefield unlike anything in Council records. Human ships moved with unpredictable patterns, using maneuvers that defied standard space combat doctrine. They fought like their planet's ancient guerrilla warriors, striking from unexpected angles, disappearing and reappearing where they were least expected. Do-hyun watched in growing horror as his perfect formation dissolved into chaos. "How are they doing this? Their technology shouldn't be capable of." His words cut off as his flagship systems began failing one by one. The humans hadn't just copied Council technology. They had reinvented it. Their weapons targeted weaknesses that thousands of years of unchanging Council doctrine had left unexplored. "Sir," his engineering officer shouted, "they're using some kind of hybrid weapon. It's affecting our power cores in ways we've never seen." Throughout the battle, Admiral Kim's voice remained calm as he coordinated Earth's defense. The humans fought with the coordination of a species that had spent centuries preparing for this exact moment. Every weapon, every tactic had been designed specifically to counter Council technology. "Status report," Kim commanded. Jae-yun's response was immediate. "Enemy fleet is in disarray. Their standard formation has completely broken down. Our quantum-linked weapons are bypassing their shields, and their response times are slowing." The Council fleet, for the first time in its history, began to retreat. Their perfect formations had been shattered, their superior numbers rendered meaningless by human innovation and preparation. Do-hyun stared at his failing command displays, watching as ship after ship fell to human attacks. "Impossible," he whispered as his flagship systems failed one by one. "We are the Council. We cannot be defeated by." But they were being defeated. The humans hadn't just prepared for battle, they had prepared specifically for this battle. Every weapon they launched had been designed to exploit weaknesses in Council technology. Every tactic they employed countered standard Council doctrine. "Admiral Kim," Jae-yun reported with barely contained excitement, "the enemy fleet is withdrawing. Their remaining ships are falling back beyond lunar orbit." The battle had lasted less than an hour. The mighty Council fleet, undefeated for thousands of years, had been forced to retreat by a species they had considered primitive just days ago. As the Council ships disappeared into the darkness of space, Admiral Kim allowed himself a small smile. "Send word to all commands. Maintain battle stations. They'll be back, and next time they won't underestimate us." In his crippled flagship, Du Hyun Cho stared at the blue planet that had just dealt the Council its first defeat in recorded history. The humans hadn't just survived, they had revealed themselves as a force that could challenge the Council's dominion over the galaxy. The first battle was over, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had shown its hidden strength, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Council's main archive chamber had become Chief Analyst Min Seo Kwan's second home in the days following their devastating defeat. Surrounded by holographic displays showing thousands of years of human history, she had barely slept, driven by an urgent need to understand their unexpected adversary. The chamber's soft blue lighting illuminated her tired face as she organized her findings. Around her, screens displayed scenes from Earth's past, battles, recoveries, revolutions, and renewals. Each event added another piece to a puzzle that was becoming increasingly disturbing. "You've requested an emergency session," Supreme Counselor He Jin Lee said as he entered the chamber with other council members. "What have you found?" Min Seo took a deep breath. "What I'm about to show you will challenge everything we thought we knew about warfare and species development." She gestured, and the displays shifted to show various human conflicts throughout history. "Their entire recorded history is filled with warfare," she began, "but not in the way we understand it. Look at this pattern." She highlighted various historical events. Every time they face a major conflict, they don't just fight, they evolve, they adapt. Each war pushes them to develop new technologies, new strategies, new ways of thinking. The council members watched as she showed them humanity's rapid technological advancement during their world wars, their Cold War, and countless smaller conflicts. But here's what's truly remarkable. Min Seo continued, pulling up more recent data. They've taken the lessons from every conflict and applied them to peaceful development. Their civilian technology advances alongside their military capabilities. They don't just prepare for war, they prepare for everything. He Jin Lee leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Explain." "Take their response to our attack," Min Seo said, bringing up battle footage. "Their ships use tactics we've never seen before because they don't think like us. While we perfect a strategy and stick to it, they constantly question and adapt. They look for weaknesses, find new approaches, improvise solutions we would never consider." She showed examples of human ships using unconventional maneuvers, combining technologies in ways the Council had never imagined. "They don't fight like we do. They adapt, improvise, and overcome. Every failure becomes a learning opportunity. Every setback makes them stronger." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Council had always relied on its superior technology and unchanging tactics. They had never needed to adapt because they had never faced real resistance. Until now. "There's more," Min Seo said quietly. "Their entertainment media, what they call movies and games, they've been using them to prepare their population psychologically for centuries. Every possible scenario of alien contact, from peaceful to hostile, has been explored in their fiction. Their people are mentally prepared for any outcome." She showed clips from various human films depicting alien invasions and first contact scenarios. "They've been rehearsing this encounter in their minds for generations. When we arrived, they weren't shocked or afraid. They were ready." He Jin Lee watched with growing concern as more council members began shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Their assumptions about humanity's capabilities had been wrong from the start, and each new revelation made their situation more precarious. "Look at their response to crisis situations," Min Seo continued, showing various natural disasters and human responses. "They don't just recover, they'd rebuild stronger. They learn from each disaster, improve their systems, and prepare for the next challenge. It's built into their psychology." The displays showed scenes of cities rising from ruins, new technologies emerging from necessity, communities coming together in the face of adversity. "And perhaps most concerning," she added, "they're united now in a way they've never been before. Our arrival has given them a common purpose. Historical enemies are sharing technology and resources. Former adversaries are coordinating defense strategies. We've inadvertently helped them overcome their internal divisions. One of the council members spoke up. Surely they must have weaknesses we can exploit. Min Seo nodded slowly. They do have weaknesses, but they know them. They study their own failures with the same intensity they study their successes. They plan for their weaknesses, compensate for them, and work to overcome them. It's not that they're invincible. It's that they're always ready to face their vulnerabilities and adapt. The implications were clear. The Council wasn't just facing a technologically capable adversary. They were facing a species that had turned adaptation and improvement into an art form. A species that grew stronger with each challenge, that learned from every encounter, that had spent its entire history preparing for moments exactly like this. "What do you recommend?" He-Jin Lee asked, his voice heavy with the weight of the situation. Min Seo looked at the displays one last time. "We need to completely rethink our approach. Standard tactics won't work against them. If we continue to treat them as just another species to be conquered, we risk not only defeat, but also revealing our own weaknesses to a civilization that excels at exploiting them." As the council members filed out of the chamber, He-Jin Lee remained, staring at the images of human resilience and adaptation. The galaxy had just become a much more complicated place, and for the first time in council history, the path forward was unclear. The psychological warfare had begun, but not in the way the council had expected. They weren't just fighting human weapons and technology. They were facing an entirely new way of thinking about conflict, adaptation, and survival. The Grand Diplomatic Chamber aboard the neutral station hummed with tension as Ambassador Ju-won Shin stepped forward to address the Galactic Council. Located in the space between Earth and Mars, this hastily constructed meeting place represented the first real dialogue between humanity and the Council since the failed invasion. Shin stood tall in his simple but elegant diplomatic uniform, a stark contrast to the ornate robes of the Council members. His presence here was itself a victory. The Council had never before negotiated with a species they had attempted to conquer. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice clear and confident. "I come before you today, not as a supplicant, but as a representative of Earth and humanity." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We are here to discuss terms for future relations between our civilizations." The council members stirred uncomfortably. Supreme Counselor He-Jin Lee sat at the center of their delegation, his face carefully neutral. The defeat of their fleet had shaken the council's confidence, but old habits died hard. "We have prepared a comprehensive proposal," Shin continued, activating a holographic display. "Our terms are simple: peaceful coexistence and mutual respect, or continued resistance. The choice is yours." The display showed detailed plans for trade routes, cultural exchanges, and technological cooperation. But it also showed Earth's continued military preparations and defensive capabilities. "We prefer peace," Shin stated firmly. "The advancement of both our civilizations through cooperation and mutual understanding. But let me be absolutely clear. We will never accept subjugation. Any future relationship must be based on equality and respect." As the public session continued, another meeting was taking place in a smaller chamber nearby. Council member Tai-Wan Choi had arranged a secret meeting with Earth's secondary delegation, led by diplomatic advisor Min-ji Park. "Your species continues to surprise us," Choi admitted, speaking quietly. "Many on the council are beginning to see the wisdom of cooperation." Min-ji nodded. "We've studied your civilization extensively. Your achievements are remarkable, but your resistance to change has become your greatest weakness. Together, we could accomplish so much more." Choi glanced at the data screens showing the combined potential of human innovation and council technology. "Some of us have been advocating for reform within the council for centuries. Your arrival, it might be the catalyst we needed." Back in the main chamber, Ambassador Shin was detailing the benefits of alliance over conflict. "Our scientists have already identified dozens of areas where cooperation could advance both our civilizations. Our different approaches to technology and problem-solving could complement each other perfectly. The council members listened with growing interest as he outlined specific examples. Human adaptability combined with council experience. Earth's innovative spirit merged with the council's vast knowledge base. But make no mistake, Shin added, his tone growing serious. While we extend this hand in friendship, our other hand remains ready to defend our freedom. We will not stop preparing, we will not stop advancing, and we will not stop protecting our independence. In the private meeting, Choi and Minji were laying the groundwork for something even more significant, a complete restructuring of galactic politics. The old way of conquest and submission must end. Choi explained, your species has proven it's unsustainable. We need a new approach, a new way of thinking about galactic civilization. Minji smiled. That's exactly what we hope to hear. We've prepared detailed proposals for a transitional period, leading to a more equitable galactic community. As the day progressed, more council members quietly sought private meetings with Earth's representatives. The momentum for change was building, driven by a combination of respect for Earth's capabilities and recognition of the need for reform. Ambassador Shin concluded the public session with a powerful statement. The galaxy stands at a crossroads. We can move forward together, combining our strengths, or we can continue down a path of conflict. Earth has made its choice. We await yours. The impact of his words resonated through both the public and private chambers. In the secret meeting, Choi and Minji were already discussing practical steps toward alliance. This won't be easy, Choi warned. Centuries of tradition don't change overnight. Nothing worthwhile ever is, Minji replied. But together, we can build something better than either of us could achieve alone. As the diplomatic sessions ended, both sides knew that a fundamental shift had occurred. The Council's age of unopposed dominance was over. A new era was beginning, one that would either see the rise of a peaceful galactic partnership or the continuation of a conflict that neither side truly wanted. Ambassador Shin's final words echoed through the chambers. The choice is yours, honored council members. But remember, humanity will never stop growing, never stop advancing, and never stop reaching for the stars. We would prefer to do so as friends rather than adversaries. The turning point had arrived. The galaxy would never be the same. The signing ceremony began as Earth's sun rose over the Pacific Ocean, visible through the massive viewport of the Council's flagship. The chamber, once a symbol of absolute power, now served as the birthplace of a new galactic order. The Treaty of Sol would change everything, marking humanity's official entry into galactic civilization not as subjects, but as equals. Admiral Daho Kim stood beside Ambassador Ju-won Shin, both wearing their formal uniforms. Across from them, Supreme Counselor Hae-Jin Lee had traded his conquest regalia for simpler diplomatic robes, a subtle but significant change that spoke volumes about the shifting balance of power. Young Mi Kang's fingers danced across her console as she recorded every detail of this historic moment. Her official records would show how the mighty Galactic Council had found not just an equal, but a partner in humanity. The data streams captured every word, every gesture, as centuries of tradition gave way to new possibilities. Today marks not an ending, but a beginning, Hae-Jin Lee announced, his voice carrying newfound humility. The Council acknowledges humanity's right to self-determination, and more importantly, recognizes the wisdom they bring to our galactic community. The treaty itself represented months of careful negotiation. Its terms established new protocols for first contact with other civilizations, created joint scientific initiatives, and outlined a framework for sharing technology, while respecting cultural differences. Admiral Kim stepped forward to sign first, his pen hovering over the document. He paused, remembering the tense moments when the Council's fleet first appeared in Earth's sky. How different things might have been if they had chosen aggression over diplomacy. The stars have always called to humanity, he said as he signed. Now we answer that call not as conquerors or subjects, but as explorers and allies. Ambassador Xin added his signature next, followed by He Jin Li. Each signature was recorded in multiple formats, preserved for future generations across a dozen worlds. The treaty would serve as a template for a new way of conducting galactic affairs. Outside the flagship, a joint fleet of Earth and Council vessels maintained formation. The human ships, with their innovative designs and hybrid technology, flew alongside the ancient but powerful Council vessels. Together, they presented a powerful symbol of cooperation. Colonel Jai-Yun Park watched from her station as Earth's first official diplomatic fleet prepared for launch. These ships would carry human ambassadors to every corner of known space, establishing new relationships and opening trade routes. Perhaps, she remarked to Admiral Kim with a slight smile, "They should have asked about us before assuming we would surrender." Her words carried no malice, only amusement at how dramatically things had changed. The Admiral nodded, watching as the diplomatic fleet began its historic journey. "Sometimes the best teacher is surprise," he replied. "We taught them that the galaxy is full of possibilities they never considered." Young news records captured the reactions across Council space as news of the treaty spread. Some worlds celebrated the change, while others struggled to accept the new reality. But all recognized that a fundamental shift had occurred. The new era brought rapid changes. Human innovations began appearing throughout Council space, new ways of thinking about old problems, fresh approaches to technology and culture. The Council's vast experience combined with human creativity led to breakthroughs that neither civilization could have achieved alone. Research centers sprung up on dozens of worlds where human and Council scientists worked together. Trade routes buzzed with activity as Earth's goods and ideas spread across the galaxy. Cultural exchanges flourished as humans eagerly learned about other civilizations while sharing their own rich history. "Look at them," He Jin Li said quietly to Taiwan Choi as they watched a group of human and Council engineers discussing a new prototype. "They don't see limitations. They see possibilities we never imagined." The impact of humanity's influence spread far beyond technology and trade. Their approach to problem solving, their ability to adapt and innovate, their willingness to question established practices, all began to influence Council society in subtle but profound ways. As Earth's diplomatic fleet disappeared into the depths of space, Ambassador Xin turned to Admiral Kim. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" Kim nodded, watching the stars. "Humanity has always dreamed of reaching for the stars. Now we're not just reaching. We're helping to reshape the galaxy itself." The new galactic order was taking shape, built on mutual respect and shared wisdom rather than dominance and submission. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through conquest or surrender, but by standing firm and offering friendship instead of submission. As young Mei completed her historical record of the day's events, she added a personal note. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history. The Council has learned that true strength lies not in forcing others to submit, but in learning to grow together. Humanity's influence will reshape our civilization in ways we have only begun to imagine." The new era had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.